नमस्कार, स्वागत छ कार्यक्रम ई नेपाली खबरको सामयिक सवालमा। आज हामी सदाझैँ अतिथिसँग छौँ। आजका अतिथि भारतीय नागरिक हुनुहुन्छ, मानव अधिकारको क्षेत्रमा कार्यरत, खास गरिकन धार्मिक स्वतन्त्रताको क्षेत्रमा वकालत गर्दै आउनुभएका व्यक्ति हुनुहुन्छ। उहाँको शुभ नाम हो जोनाथन रोबर्ट डोनाल्ड। यु आर वेलकम टु द प्रोग्राम, सर।
Thank you, sir, for your kindness and thoughtfulness.
What do you do in Kathmandu? Since you are Kathmandu, yes, this is fourth day today. You are in Kathmandu. What is your purpose?
The purpose of my visit to this beautiful country of Nepal is to reactivate and reorganize the discipline, the sphere of public affairs, religious liberty, and human rights.
What did you get in Nepal? Is religiously friendly country. Do you see the same, or what is your observations?
This is my fourth day in this country of Nepal, and I have been impressed with several things, but few of them I would like to list out, namely the calm disposition of the citizens, the civic mindedness, the civic sense of responsibility, and a well-informed, progressive, enlightened public opinion that I have been impressed with reading the newspapers.
Regarding the religious liberty, that it is called harmonious in the respect of religion, do you see the same, or you have got different vision?
So every human being has natural and inalienable rights. Whether it is in this country of Nepal, India, any countries in Southern Asia, or across the globe in 234 countries and island nations that constitute. And many a time, the level of awareness about the human rights and religious liberty is misunderstood and misinterpreted, not clearly stated as it should be.
Donald, all the points you have raised here are already mentioned in Universal Declaration. Main thing is that how did you see its practical aspects? Whether all the documents, all the provisions passed by United Nations, that is called Universal Declaration. According to that documents, what did you see in Nepal? We are very near to the documents and we are far from the documents.
You know, it is out of the traumatic experience, out of the shocks of the two world wars fought in 1914 to 1918 and 1939 to 1945, that human dignity attracted the attention of the people all over the world. And especially in the last 60 years, human rights have become, at least in the free and democratic world, a very vibrant issue. So the concept of human rights represents an attempt to protect the individuals from oppression and exploitation and inclusion. The international covenants that were ratified by the League of Nations then and the United Nations and later has been very much accepted by several constitutions of the world, republics and democracies. However,
Yeah.
in implementation, there has been a very slow progress in the whole thing. In the last few decades, the human rights movement has been gaining strength, gaining the movement. It is exercising a profound influence among the world community, including the Nepal, country of Nepal. I'm so pleased and impressed because I'm not here for many years. I'm pleased and impressed to know that the country of Nepal has a ministry of peace and restoration.
There are debate. Should Nepal in the constitution should be retained a Hindu nation or just not mentioning anything? What is your view regarding this debate?
Very few countries in the world have a ministry of truth and reconciliation. And a commission, I believe, has been appointed by the honorable government here. Possibly in the context of the disappearance of the persons. And I believe this concept has been taking a shape. And the recommendation panel of the honorable government has begun the process to recommend to Truth and Reconciliation Committee members. Although the National Human Rights Commission in Nepal is at present quite inactive.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the members right now.
Yes, you see. And the recommendation of the honorable government, the Ministry of Truth and Reconciliation Commission, to hold public meetings in the forums.
But you don't know, the commission is going to formed not for this purpose to suggest that whether the country should be retained in the constitutions secular and then Hindu like that, you know. It has got a quite different objective. So you are referring the commission. Will you elaborate more relating the questions?
Oh, I think the United Nations Committee had been sending its rapporteurs
Yeah.
to this country to study the disappearance of persons. And then especially studies have been made against the torture, and they have sought amendments in this Truth and Reconciliation Commissioner Acts to ensure that justice is done to insurgency victims. And the representation of the National Human Rights Commission to be more effective, more competent in its role and functioning. So, the Ministry of Truth and Reconciliation, the National Human Rights Commission, possibly have a challenge of implementing the international covenants and also the national constitutional law. Constitution will take over maybe by January 2015.
Yeah.
I trust by 2015.
Yeah. Let us hope so.
The secular, republic, democratic
It's your expectation.
features are retained in this broad-based constitution of Nepal. Then there is some meaningful existence and coexistence for all of us to be with. It is a safe way of looking at. See, we cannot eradicate all the evils from the society of Nepal, like anywhere in the world, but we can minimize the evil. And therefore, the very fact that the government has formed the recommendation committee as per certain section of the commission itself, Truth and Reconciliation itself is very impressive, because most of the countries, the freedom of the person is concealed, oppressed, and suppressed and exploited. I think the Nepalese government is more open to some of these type of things. I wish the people involved in framing and drafting the constitution, sir, Mr. Kapil, will include all of these things.
Okay, there is, it is just a matter of fact that if you see in the globe, there are few countries, they have followed state religion. So we had also similar type of tradition, and then we adopted the same till few years back. Now we are secular, Nepal is secular. What is your message, what is your observation to the nation who follows state religion?
Sir, human rights are commonly understood as those rights which are inherent to every human being. And every human being is entitled to enjoy his or her human rights without distinction of race, color, sex, language, religion, political, other opinion, natural, social origin, property, birth, or status. In other words, human rights is the core, sir, of the civil liberties of a man or a woman. And humanism is the soul of justice. So therefore, no cause is more worthy than the cause of the human rights, and they are the essence of man and society. Yes, we have made many faults. We have erred in many areas. We have faltered in our functioning, in the administration of the human and social justice to the needy and the impoverished, weaker sections of the society. But the greater injustice of any society, irrespective of any nationality or nation, is an injustice against the marginalized, isolated, alienated people. And I believe when there is an abuse or violation of the human rights in the rule of law.
Donald, relating your just very perfect descriptions, as you observe, we have got 5 rights defined by United Nations according to Universal Human Rights Declaration. 5 rights: civil, social, political, economic, and lastly cultural and religious rights. Do you think the order of the listed rights are fine, or if you asked to rearrange the list, then you will have another list, another according to order,
This is a very comprehensive and enlightened, progressive issue that you have raised, sir. However, I am of the firm opinion, instead of categorizing and giving it a categorical ranks, I am of the firm opinion that it is very obligatory for all of the people, as well as the public authorities, to follow human rights as well as the principle as enshrined in the Constitution of Nepal. I hope the Constitution of Nepal that will come out in its full, final and total form in mid-February or January 2015, will have the essential principles of the human rights, including the right to the minorities, right to the religious minorities, right to the conscience, right to the propagation of the religion.
One thing, it is reality that we have stomach, and then it is always a little bit forward than maybe sometimes even mind, you know. Stomach is just in front of us. So we are very much concerned about the livelihood, economic resources, and our people are poor, crying for resources, and then they are making, they are sometimes coming to the street, raising their voice related to livelihoods. Until and unless people will have rights of economy, economical rights. May I know your idea?
Yes, sir.
That how do you interconnect livelihood and religious liberty?
This viewpoint that you have raised is very, very fundamental, very basic, and very essential. Let me start by answering your question. You know, you have raised a point and a right to a dignified life. Whether low or high, and especially now the alienated, the marginalized sections of the society, even to them, a right to a dignified life must be the essential principle. Even considering the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights, when it was adopted, it was the first thing that they included in their codification process. I think you have touched the pulse of a dignified life, the fundamental life, the human right life, the development. Because of this, the human rights law became very, very important. And today, every court of law, civil, criminal, high or supreme, they basically need to concentrate on the human rights law. In fact, I must tell you, Mr. Kapil, that there are more than 100 instruments to protect human rights. Not more than one or two really is utilized today. It has not been evolved as per the declaration. So, when we talk about what you have rightly said, it's all an integrated part of life. Economics, religious freedom, that means the inner life, peace and joy and contentment, to live according to the dictates of your conscience, all determines the well-being and the welfare of a person and the corporate life as whole. I'll be more than happy if your honor will initiate a human rights university and conduct extensive human rights research and education all over. Yes, I was with the Honorable Vice Chancellor for an hour talking to him, Dr. Sharma.
Yes, you are Director for Public Affairs and Religious Liberty.
And human rights.
On human rights. This institute, this organization is stated even in Nepal.
We have our representatives.
As a director of this very organization, do you think, as per the objectives you have fixed for your organization, you are doing well?
Well, I cannot really implement everything that we have drafted in letter and in spirit.
Okay.
But we will endeavor to create like-minded people in different parts of the world in the way our worldwide organization by the name International Religious Liberty Organization has asked me to do.
At the same time, you several times you are mentioning about the religious minority group. Everywhere, in different countries, in almost all the countries across the globe, there are the minority, religious minority, minority people. They are facing different problems. If you compare the religious minority people in Nepal and even, let us say, neighbor country India, do you see the similarities, and then do you see the people, religious minority in Nepal have got better chance to express themselves, to enjoy the rights related to, as you said, about universal declarations?
The framers of the Indian Constitution
Yeah.
discussed this very issue that you have put forth before us and the general public at large. So, the members of the Constitution of India under Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and Dr. Ambedkar very wisely and prudently included Articles 25 to 30 as rights of the minority rights under the fundamental rights and the preamble to the Constitution of India. So, Articles 25 to 30 guarantees freedom to all the citizens, especially to the religious minorities.
If you compare new generation with old generation, then the new generation, I have observed, they just ignore the religious beliefs, either Hindu or Christians or Muslims and something else. They just ignore. Few of them just if you ask to fill the form, and then they just write in the column of religions, none. So, is it threats to the people like you, like me, and other people who believe in certain religion?
When we talk about the human rights,
Yeah.
or even religious liberty, the mandate, the objective is such that it covers the entire range of the life of the personality of the human being, his physical dimension, his mental dimension, his social dimension, and even his spiritual side of the personality. The human personality is not simply physical, mental, and social. What happens when the ethical, the moral, the spiritual side of personality is developed? When it is not fully developed, we see that the development is only partial, lopsided. And it has its bearings, Mr. Kapil. It has its consequential effects on the economic and social cultural thinking and the rights. So, when we talk about the human rights or the religious freedom, it means it relates to the life itself, the life as a total. The whole life, the total life, you see. That's why when our framers the fathers of the nation, not only fought for the political freedom of the countries, not only against the economic exploitation, but also to restore the dignity of the human being, and thus helping him or her to develop the spiritual side, the ethical side, the moral side of the personality.
Our future, new generation, they just, as I said, that they just ignore that the religion is mostly, by birth, Uh, most of the time, what we observe is that father, mother are Christians, and then son or daughter, they are itself Christians. And Hindu, then their kids are Hindu. So, later on, when they grow up, and then just they think, see the things, there is quarrels, debates, quarrels related to religions, they just ignore that.
The Christians do believe that man is created in the image of God, in the likeness of God. We believe in a personal God. So we relate ourselves with that personal God, and then He interferes, intervenes, and overrules our lives for His glory. That's one way of looking at it. The second way of looking at it is, as soon as the child is born into the world, and as soon as the child is implanted in the womb of the mother, this seed of eternity is already there in the mother's womb. As the child comes out of the mother's womb into the environment, he begins to see the good and the evil, the right and the wrong. As he begins to walk, as he begins to associate, as he begins to go to see people at home and go to school, and as he grows up into adulthood, he develops a fine sense of right and wrong. To develop the sense of right and wrong in that child, we need not punish him, but we need to discipline him.
At the end, here is my friend Bhajuram Srestha. Do you have any questions to ask Dr. Donald?
Dr. Donald, I have a question. In Nepal, religious freedom is termed as people are afraid that people become more converted to Christianity. But in the term of United Nations, human right is defined as right of conscience. And so in Nepali context, if the state implement Hindu religion, and how do you think it will affect the freedom of conscience as defined in the United Nations?
The issue of proselytization comes in. Proselytization conveys a couple of meanings. Proselytization or conversion on his own voluntarily. He embraces the religious system, religious values on his own without being coerced, without any coercion. International covenants passed by the United Nations Human Rights Council or General Assembly or the United Nations support this viewpoint. But there is another proselytization or conversion that is done purely out of selfishness and greed to increase the number of the religious groups, to bring in insecurity among the peaceful communities, sow seeds of discord and strife among brethren. It is against that. Even United Nations General Assembly has come out very openly through all its international covenants, ratified by many countries around the world. So, the intellectuals, the intelligent people who are trying to guide the destinies of nations, they need to take stock of the human rights regime in their own country, in their own state, and introspect whether we have faltered in our functioning in the administration of the country and deprived the needy and the weaker sections of the society social justice.
We are really delighted and very much thankful to you for your time. Our program only for half an hour, so we don't have enough time to listen to you. But how much time you have given, we are very much happy with you. Thank you very much.
I'm grateful to you, sir. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you for our audience.